Captain Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his face as he walked through the tall grass. The sun was hot on the planet Kepler 4R42c, and his uniform stuck to his skin. He had been walking for 2 hours with his team, checking the area around their base for any dangers. "Captain, do you see anything strange over there?" asked Lieutenant Amy Carter. She pointed to a group of rocks that seemed to glow with a soft blue light. Jake looked through his binoculars. The rocks were not normal. They looked like they were made of crystal, and they moved slowly. "Those are not rocks, Amy. They look alive." Dr. Ben Hughes stepped forward. He was the team's science expert, always excited about new discoveries. "Captain, I think we found something amazing. Those might be buildings or creatures from another species." Jake felt his heart beat faster. They had been on this planet for 3 months, but this was the first sign of intelligent life. "Everyone stay calm. We need to be careful. If there are aliens here, we don't want to start a fight." The team moved closer to the crystal formations. As they got near, Jake saw movement between the structures. Something was walking around, but it was hard to see clearly. "There," whispered Amy. "I see someone." A small figure came out from behind one of the crystal buildings. It looked like a young girl, but her skin was clear like glass, and small crystals grew from her arms and head. She had large, bright eyes that seemed curious about the humans. "She's beautiful," said Dr. Hughes quietly. "Look at how the light moves through her body." The crystal girl saw the humans and stopped. She tilted her head like a bird, studying them. Then she took a few steps closer. Jake held up his hand to tell his team to stay still. "Hello," he said softly. "We are friends." The girl did not understand his words, but she seemed to know he was trying to be kind. She made a sound like singing bells and took another step forward. Suddenly, loud noises came from the crystal city. Other beings like the girl appeared, but they were much bigger and carried weapons that glowed with bright energy. They looked angry and scared. "The adults found us," said Amy. "They don't look happy." Jake saw fear in the crystal girl's eyes. She looked back at the angry adults, then at the humans. She seemed caught between 2 worlds she did not understand. "We need to back away slowly," Jake told his team. "We don't want them to think we're here to hurt anyone." But it was too late. One of the crystal adults pointed his weapon at the humans and made a loud warning sound. The weapon began to glow brighter. "Take cover!" Jake shouted. A beam of blue energy shot past Jake's head and hit a tree, which turned to ice instantly. His team jumped behind rocks as more energy beams flew around them. "We're not here to fight," Jake called out. But the crystal beings could not understand him. The little crystal girl ran toward the adults, trying to get between them and the humans. She was making musical sounds like she was trying to explain something. But the adults pushed her away and kept shooting. Dr. Hughes crawled over to Jake. "Captain, I don't think they want to hurt us. They're scared. They're protecting their child." Jake looked at the little girl again. She was crying now, and her tears looked like tiny diamonds falling to the ground. The adults were pulling her back toward their city, but she kept looking at the humans with sad eyes. "Fall back to the trees," Jake ordered. "We'll give them space." As the humans moved away, the crystal beings stopped shooting. The adults surrounded the little girl and began walking back to their city. But something went wrong. 3 more crystal adults came running from a different direction. They were shouting in their musical language, and they looked very upset. They talked quickly with the adults who had been shooting at the humans. Jake watched through his binoculars as the crystal Beings became more and more worried. They were looking around the area, searching for something. The little girl was not with them anymore. "Where did the child go?" asked Amy. Jake scanned the area. The crystal girl was nowhere to be seen. During the confusion of the fight, she had disappeared. The crystal adults were now running in all directions, calling out with sounds like wind chimes in a storm. Their beautiful singing had turned into cries of fear and sadness. "She's lost," said Dr. Hughes. "The little girl got scared and ran away during the fighting." Jake felt sick to his stomach. The fight had been his fault. If his team had been more careful, maybe the little girl would still be safe with her family. One of the crystal adults was much larger and more beautiful than the others. She wore something that looked like a crown made of pure light. When she realized the child was missing, she made a sound so sad that it made Jake's heart hurt. "That must be her mother," Amy said quietly, "and probably their queen." The Crystal Queen looked at the place where the humans had been hiding. Even from far away, Jake could see the anger and pain in her glowing eyes. She made a decision that would change everything. She pointed at the human base in the distance and gave orders to her people. The message was clear even without words. The humans had taken her child, and there would be war. As the crystal beings disappeared back into their city, Jake knew that his world had just become much more dangerous. Somewhere out there, a little girl was lost and scared, and soon, two species would be fighting because of a misunderstanding that should never have happened. "We need to get back to base," Jake said. "And we need to find that little girl before it's too late." Jake Morrison stood in the command room of the human base, looking at the maps on the big screen. His commanding officer, Colonel Frank Davis, was not happy. "Captain, you caused an international incident," Colonel Davis said with anger in his voice. "Those crystal beings are preparing for war because of your mistake." "Sir, it was an accident," Jake replied. "We were just exploring. We didn't know they lived there. And now their princess is missing, and they think we took her." The radio signals were picking up sound like they're calling for their army. Jake looked at the screen showing the Crystal City. He could see movement as more crystal beings arrived. Their city was growing larger and brighter as more soldiers came. "Colonel, let me take a small team to find the girl. If we bring her back safely, maybe we can stop this war before it starts." "Absolutely not. You've done enough damage. We're going to defend this base and wait for backup from Earth." Dr. Ben Hughes stepped forward. "Sir, I've been studying the radio signals. The crystal beings are very upset, but they're not attacking yet. They're searching for their princess. If we help find her, we might save both our species." Colonel Davis shook his head. "Too dangerous. That's an order, Captain." Jake saluted and left the command room, but he had already made his decision. He found Lieutenant Amy Carter in the equipment room. "Amy, I need your help with something," Jake said quietly. "What kind of help?" Amy asked, but she already knew from the look in his eyes. "The kind that might get us in trouble, but it's the right thing to do." Amy smiled. "I'm in. What's the plan?" An hour later, Jake, Amy, and Dr. Hughes were walking away from the base with backpacks full of supplies. They had left during the night, shift change when fewer people were watching. "The scanners show energy traces heading toward the mountains," Dr. Hughes said, looking at his equipment. "The princess left a trail we can follow." The planet's landscape was beautiful, but dangerous. Strange plants grew everywhere, some with thorns as long as knives. The ground was soft and muddy, making walking difficult. "How long can she survive out here alone?" Amy asked. "Not long," Dr. Hughes answered. Her people live in crystal cities, with controlled temperature and light. This wild environment is like poison to her. They walked for hours, following the faint energy trail left by the princess. The signal was getting weaker, which meant she was getting sicker. "Look at this," Amy said, pointing to some broken crystals on the ground. "These fell off her body. That's not good, is it?" Dr. Hughes picked up the crystal pieces. "No, it's like she's losing parts of herself. We need to find her soon." As they climbed higher into the mountains, the weather got worse. Dark clouds covered the sky, and strange lightning flashed between them. The lightning was green instead of white, and it made the air smell like metal. "Storm coming," Jake said. "We need to find shelter." But they couldn't stop. Every hour that passed made it less likely they would find the princess alive. Behind them, they could hear sounds of the crystal beings searching too. Their musical voices carried on the wind, calling for their lost princess. Sometimes the voices sounded close, and the humans had to hide behind rocks. "They're everywhere," Amy whispered as they crouched behind a large stone. "If they find us, they'll think we kidnapped her." "Then we better find her first," Jake said. The storm hit them as they reached a valley between two mountains. The green lightning was dangerous. When it hit the ground, it left holes that glowed for several minutes. "There!" Dr. Hughes pointed through the rain. "I'm getting a strong signal from those caves." They ran toward the cave entrance as lightning crashed around them. The cave was dark and cold, but it was safe from the storm. "She's in here somewhere," Dr. Hughes said, checking his scanner. "The signal is very weak now." They used their flashlights to explore the cave. It went deep into the mountain, with many tunnels branching off in different directions. "Princess," Jake called softly. "We're here to help." A small sound came from deeper in the cave. It was like a bell that was almost broken. They followed the sound through a narrow tunnel and found her in a small chamber. Princess Lyra Thess was curled up against the wall, and she looked terrible. Her crystal skin was cracked, and pieces had broken off and scattered around her. She was barely glowing now. "Oh no," Amy said. "She's dying." The princess looked up at them with fear in her large eyes. She tried to back away, but she was too weak to move. "It's okay," Jake said gently. He slowly took off his jacket and approached her. "We're not going to hurt you." Dr. Hughes opened his medical kit. "I don't know how to treat her species, but I can try to keep her warm and stable." Jake wrapped his jacket around the small princess. She was so light, like holding a bird. She made soft musical sounds, but they were sad and scared. "She thinks we're going to hurt her," Amy said. "After what happened with the fighting, she's terrified of us." Jake sat down next to the princess and spoke in a calm voice. "Hey there, little one. I know you don't understand me, but we're the good guys. We want to take you home to your mom." The princess looked into Jake's eyes. Something in his voice seemed to calm her a little. She stopped trying to pull away. "That's it," Jake said softly. "We're friends. Your mom is looking for you. She's very worried. Dr. Hughes was working with his equipment. I'm picking up more crystal beings heading this way. They found our trail." "How long do we have?" Amy asked. "Maybe 20 minutes before they reach the cave." Jake looked down at the sick princess in his arms. She was so young and scared. He made a decision that would change everything. "Ben, can you make her strong enough to travel?" "I can try, but moving her might make her worse." "We don't have a choice. If her people find us here, they'll think we kidnapped her. But if we can get her closer to home..." The sounds of the crystal beings searching were getting louder. Their musical voices echoed through the mountains, and some of them sounded angry. Jake stood up carefully, still holding the princess. "We're going to get you home, little one. I promise." The princess looked up at him and made a sound like a question. Jake smiled at her, and for the first time, she didn't look scared. "Let's go," Jake said to his team. "Time to be heroes." Jake carried Princess Lyrathess through the dark cave tunnels. She was getting heavier as her condition got worse, but he refused to put her down. Every few minutes, she would make small musical sounds, like she was trying to tell him something. "This way," Dr. Hughes whispered, checking his scanner. "There's another exit about 50 meters ahead." Behind them, the sounds of crystal beings grew louder. Their voices echoed through the caves like a sad song. They were getting closer. "Jake, we have a problem," Amy said, looking at her own equipment. "I'm detecting movement outside the cave, too. We're surrounded." "How many?" Jake asked, adjusting his hold on the princess. "At least 12, maybe more. And they don't sound friendly." Princess Lyrathess stirred in Jake's arms. She lifted her head and made a weak sound toward the voices of her people. She was trying to call to them, but her voice was too quiet. "She wants to go to them," Dr. Hughes said. "But if we just walk out there—" "They'll shoot first and ask questions later," Jake finished. "I know." They reached the cave exit. Through the opening, Jake could see crystal beings moving between the trees. Their weapons glowed with blue energy, ready to fire. The storm had passed, but the air still smelled like electricity. "There has to be another way," Amy said. "Maybe we can signal them somehow, let them know we're trying to help." Jake looked down at the princess. Her crystal skin was very dim now, and more pieces had broken off. She might not survive much longer. "Princess," Jake said softly. "Can you show them we're friends?" She looked up at him with her large, bright eyes. Even though she couldn't understand his words, she seemed to understand what he meant. She lifted one small hand and touched Jake's face gently. "I think she trusts us," Dr. Hughes said. "That's something." A loud roar came from the forest. It wasn't from the crystal beings. Something else was out there. Something big and dangerous. "What was that?" Amy asked, raising her weapon. Through the trees, Jake saw movement. Large, dark shapes were moving toward the crystal beings. The aliens' voices changed from searching songs to warning cries. "Predators," Dr. Hughes said, reading his scanner. "Big ones. And they're heading right for the crystal beings." Jake made a quick decision. "We're going out there." "Are you crazy?" Amy asked. "They'll shoot us." "Not if we're fighting the same enemy they are." The roaring got louder, and Jake saw the first creature. It was huge, with 8 legs like a spider and teeth as long as swords. Its skin was black and seemed to absorb light. Dr. Hughes had told them about these animals before, void hunters, the most dangerous predators on the planet. "3 of them," Amy said, counting, "and they're heading straight for the crystal beings." Jake stepped out of the cave, still carrying the princess. "Hey!" he shouted to the crystal beings. "Behind you!" The crystal aliens turned toward Jake, raising their weapons. But then they saw what he was pointing at. The void hunters were almost on top of them. The first hunter attacked a crystal being who was standing alone. The alien tried to fight back, but his weapon wasn't strong enough. The creature knocked him down and prepared to bite him with its terrible teeth. Jake ran forward, pulling out his plasma rifle with one hand while still holding the princess with the other. "Amy! Ben! Help them!" Amy and Dr. Hughes followed Jake. out of the cave, firing their weapons at the Void Hunters. The crystal beings were confused at first, but when they saw the humans fighting the same enemy, some of them lowered their weapons. The battle was fierce. The Void Hunters were fast and smart. They tried to separate the crystal beings from each other, picking them off one by one. Jake found himself fighting next to a tall crystal warrior, both of them shooting at the same hunter. Princess Lyra Thess was still in Jake's arms, but she was watching everything. She saw how the humans risked their lives to save her people. She saw Jake put himself between her and the dangerous creatures, using his own body as a shield. "Look out!" Amy shouted. The largest Void Hunter had circled around behind Jake. It jumped through the air, its claws reaching for him and the princess. Jake couldn't move fast enough while carrying her, but the crystal warrior Jake had been fighting beside stepped forward. He fired his weapon at full power, hitting the Void Hunter in the chest. The creature crashed to the ground, but its claws still caught Jake's arm, tearing his uniform and cutting deep into his skin. Jake fell to his knees, still holding the princess tight. Blood ran down his arm, but he didn't let go of her. "Jake!" Amy ran to him, firing at another hunter that was getting too close. Dr. Hughes threw a grenade at the remaining hunters. The explosion scared them away, but not before one of them knocked him down. His leg was badly hurt. The crystal beings saw everything. They saw Jake bleeding but still protecting their princess. They saw Amy and Dr. Hughes fighting creatures much bigger than themselves. They saw humans risking their lives for aliens they had just met. The tall crystal warrior who had saved Jake approached slowly. He lowered his weapon and said something in his musical language. Even though Jake couldn't understand the words, the meaning was clear. "Thank you." Jake looked down at Princess Lyra Thess. She was looking up at him with wonder in her eyes. She touched his wounded arm gently, and her touch seemed to ease the pain. "It's okay, little one," Jake said, even though he was hurt. "You're safe now." More crystal beings appeared from the forest. These were different. They wore robes instead of armor, and they moved with authority. Jake realized they must be the Royal Guard. Among them was the most beautiful crystal being Jake had ever seen. She was tall and elegant, and she wore a crown made of pure light. Her skin glowed brighter than all the others, and when she saw the princess in Jake's arms, she made a sound like crying. "The Queen," Amy whispered. "That's her mother." Queen Vera Anna approached slowly. She looked at Jake holding her daughter, at the blood on his arm, at the way he had protected the princess even when he was hurt. The other crystal beings watched nervously, ready to fight if their queen gave the order. Princess Lyra Thess saw her mother and made weak, happy sounds. She tried to reach for the queen, but she was too sick to move much. Jake looked into Queen Vera Anna's glowing eyes. Slowly, carefully he stood up. His arm hurt terribly, but he ignored the pain. He took a step toward the queen and gently held out her daughter. For a moment, nobody moved. The crystal beings, the humans, even the wind seemed to stop. Everything depended on what happened next. Queen Vera Anna looked at Jake for a long time. She saw the kindness in his eyes, the way he held her daughter like she was precious, the blood he had shed to protect her. Finally, she reached out and took Princess Lyra Thess into her arms. The moment the queen touched her daughter, the princess began to glow brighter. Being close to her mother was already helping her heal. Queen Vera Anna looked at Jake again. This time, her expression was different. She wasn't angry anymore. She was grateful. She said something in her musical language. One of her guards translated, using a device that spoke in English. The Queen asks why you saved her daughter when you do not know her. Jake smiled, even though he was tired and hurt. Because she needed help. That's what we do. The Queen listened to the translation. She said something else, and the device spoke again. The Queen says she was wrong about humans. She wants to talk. The human medical bay had never been so busy. Dr. Hughes limped around on his injured leg, working next to crystal healers who glowed with soft blue light. Princess Lyra Thess lay on one medical bed while Jake was on another, both being treated by doctors from two different worlds. "This is amazing," Dr. Hughes said to Dr. Kate Wilson, the base doctor. "Their healing methods use light energy. It's like nothing I've ever seen." Queen Vera Anna stood between the two beds, watching both patients carefully. She had insisted on staying while her daughter was treated. Through the translation device, she had made it clear that Jake was to receive the same care as the princess. "How is she doing?" Amy asked one of the crystal healers. The healer touched the translation device. "The young one will recover. Being away from crystal energy made her sick, but she is strong. She will be well soon." Amy looked at Jake, who was getting stitches in his arm. "And Jake?" The human fought bravely. "His wounds are not serious, but he lost much blood protecting our princess." Colonel Davis entered the medical bay with several human officers. He looked around at the crystal beings and shook his head. "Captain Morrison, you disobeyed direct orders. You left the base without permission and could have started a war." Queen. Vera Anna heard the translation and stepped forward. She spoke in her musical language, and the device said, "The Queen says this human prevented a war. She wants to know why you are angry with him." Colonel Davis was surprised. He hadn't expected the alien queen to defend Jake. "Your Majesty, he broke our rules. He could have been killed, and that would have made things worse between our peoples." The Queen listened to the translation, then spoke again. The device said, "The Queen says that sometimes rules must be broken to do what is right. She says Jake has the heart of a true leader." Jake tried to sit up on his medical bed. "Colonel, I had to try. I couldn't let that little girl die because of a misunderstanding." Princess Lyra Thess heard Jake's voice and turned her head toward him. She was looking much better now. Her crystal skin was bright again, and new crystals were growing where the old ones had broken off. She said something in her musical language. The translation device spoke. "The princess says the human was very kind to her. She was scared, but he made her feel safe." Queen Vera Anna moved closer to Jake's bed. She spoke directly to him, and the device translated, "Why did you risk your life for someone you did not know?" Jake looked at the beautiful alien queen. "Because it was the right thing to do. She's just a kid who got lost and scared. Any parent would want someone to help their child." The Queen's expression changed. Jake could see something like surprise in her glowing eyes. She had not expected such a simple, honest answer. "The Queen asks if all humans think like you," the device said. Amy stepped forward. "Not all, Your Majesty, but many do. We believe in protecting those who cannot protect themselves, especially children." Dr. Hughes joined the conversation. "Your Majesty, we came to this planet to explore and learn. We never wanted to fight or cause trouble. We're sorry for the misunderstanding." Princess Lyra Thess sat up on her bed. She was strong enough to talk now, and she spoke quickly in her musical language. The translation device worked hard to keep up. "The princess says the humans fought monsters to save her. She says Jake carried her when she could not walk. She says they shared their medicine with her. Queen Vera Anna listened carefully to her daughter's words. When the princess finished talking, the queen was quiet for a long time. The queen is thinking, one of the crystal healers explained. This is very different from what she expected. Colonel Davis cleared his throat. Your Majesty, perhaps we should discuss how to move forward. We both want peace between our peoples. The queen nodded and spoke to the translation device. The queen agrees, but first she wants to understand humans better. She wants to know how a species so different from hers can show such kindness. Jake had an idea. Your Majesty, would you like to see our base? We could show you how we live, what we believe in, and maybe you could show us your city too. Princess. Lyrathess got excited and spoke quickly. The device translated, The princess likes this idea. She wants to learn about human games and stories. Dr. Hughes smiled. We have lots of things we could share. Our music, our art, our science. And we'd love to learn about your culture, too. Queen Vera Anna spoke to her guards in their musical language. Jake could tell they were discussing something important. Some of the guards seemed worried, but others nodded in agreement. Finally, the queen turned back to the humans. The queen says this is a good idea, but she has one condition. What's that? Colonel Davis asked. Jake must be her daughter's first human friend. The princess has asked for this specifically. Jake looked at the young alien girl. She was watching him with bright, hopeful eyes. Despite everything that had happened, she wasn't afraid of him anymore. She trusted him. I'd be honored, Jake said. Princess Lyrathess clapped her hands together, making a sound like tiny bells. She spoke excitedly, and the device translated. The princess wants to show Jake her favorite crystal garden. She says it grows music flowers. Amy laughed. Music flowers? That sounds wonderful. Dr. Hughes was already making plans. We could set up cultural exchange programs, scientists from both species working together. Think of what we could learn from each other. Queen Vera Anna seemed pleased with the humans' enthusiasm. She spoke. Again, the queen says that perhaps this meeting was meant to happen. Her daughter getting lost, humans finding her, working together to save her. Maybe it was destiny. Colonel Davis, who had been quiet during most of the conversation, finally spoke up. Your Majesty, I owe Captain Morrison an apology. He did the right thing, even when it seemed wrong. I'm proud to have him in my command. Jake smiled at his colonel. Thank you, sir. But I wasn't alone. Amy and Ben risked just as much to help save the princess. Queen Vera Anna looked at Amy and Dr. Hughes. The queen wants to thank all of you. You have given her the most precious gift, her daughter's life. Princess Lyrathess had been listening to everything. Now she spoke up, her voice stronger than before. The translation device said, The princess wants to know if humans have families like crystal people do. She wants to know about human mothers and children. Amy sat down next to the princess's bed. Yes, we do. Human mothers love their children just as much as crystal mothers do. That's why Jake knew your mother would be worried about you. The princess nodded thoughtfully. Then she said something that made everyone in the room stop and listen. The device translated, The princess says that love is the same in all languages. She says this is how she knew the humans were good. Queen Vera Anna looked at her daughter with pride. Despite her young age, the princess had learned something important about the universe. Love and kindness could bridge any gap between species. The Queen agrees with her daughter, the device said. She believes this is the beginning of a great friendship between our peoples. Jake looked around the medical bay. Crystal beings and humans were working together, helping each other, learning from each other. It was exactly what he had hoped for when he first decided to save the lost princess. Your Majesty, Jake said, I think your daughter is very wise. And I think this, friendship is going to change both our worlds for the better. 3 days later, the human medical bay looked like a meeting place between two worlds. Crystal flowers that sang gentle melodies grew in pots next to human computers. The air smelled like both antiseptic and the sweet scent of crystal blooms. Jake sat in a chair next to Princess Lyra Thess's bed. His arm was almost healed thanks to crystal healing methods combined with human medicine. The princess was completely recovered now, her crystal skin bright and healthy. Tell me again about Earth animals, the princess said through the translation device. She had been asking Jake questions for hours. Well, we have cats that purr when they're happy and dogs that wag their tails when they see their owners, Jake explained, making gestures with his hands. Princess Lyra Thess giggled, a sound like silver bells. I want to see a dog someday. Do they really lick faces? All the time, Jake laughed, especially when they love you. Queen Vera Anna entered the medical bay, followed by Colonel Davis and several officials from both species. She had been in meetings all morning, working out the details of a peace agreement. When Princess Lyra Thess saw her mother, she jumped up from the bed and ran to her. The Queen caught her daughter in a warm hug, and both of them glowed brighter with happiness. Mom, I'm back. He saved me, the princess said in her musical language. The translation device echoed her words in English, but the joy in her voice needed no translation. Queen Vera Anna's eyes filled with tears that sparkled like diamonds. She looked at Jake over her daughter's head and spoke softly. The device translated. The Queen says these are tears of joy. Her daughter is safe, and her people have found new friends. Colonel Davis stepped forward with a formal document in his hands. Your Majesty, the Kepler Accords are ready for signing. This will be the first official treaty between humans and the Zilithian Empire. Queen Vera Anna gently set her daughter down and took the document. As she read it, Princess Lyra Thess ran to Jake and hugged his legs. What does the treaty say? Jake asked. Dr. Hughes, who had been working with crystal scientists, explained, trade agreements, cultural exchange programs, joint research projects, and, most importantly, a promise that both species will protect each other. The Queen has one more request, the translation device announced as Queen Vera Anna spoke. She wants Jake to be the first human ambassador to the Zilithian Empire. Jake was surprised. Me? But I'm just a soldier. Princess Lyra Thess tugged on his sleeve and spoke excitedly. The device translated, the princess says you're not just a soldier. You're a bridge between worlds. She says you understand what's important. Amy stepped forward. Jake, you'd be perfect for the job. You've already proven that you can bring our peoples together. Queen Vera Anna signed the treaty with a pen that glowed with crystal energy. As she wrote her name, the document began to shine with beautiful colors. Colonel Davis signed next using a regular human pen. When both signatures were complete, the document glowed even brighter, as if it was alive with the hopes of both species. The Queen declares this a day of celebration, the translation device announced. She invites all humans to visit the Crystal City for a friendship festival. Princess Lyra Thess clapped her hands together. Jake, You have to come see my music garden, and I want to meet more humans. Amy said she would teach me to play baseball. Baseball? Queen Vera Anna asked through the device. Amy grinned. It's a human game, Your Majesty. Very fun, and perfect for bringing people together. The Queen would like to learn this baseball, too, the device said. Dr. Hughes pulled out his tablet and showed pictures of Earth. Your Majesty, we have so much to share with each other. Art, music, science, stories. The Queen says, Crystal, people have much to share, too. They have technology that can heal planets, music that can calm storms, and wisdom from thousands of years of peace. Jake looked around the room at all the faces, human and crystal alike, and felt proud of what they had accomplished. A few days ago, these species had almost gone to war. Now they were planning festivals and friendship exchanges. Your Majesty, Jake said, I accept the position of ambassador, but I have one condition. Queen Vera Anna looked curious. I want Princess Lyra Thess to be my co-ambassador. She understands both our peoples better than anyone. The princess gasped with excitement and looked at her mother with hopeful eyes. Queen Vera Anna smiled, the first time Jake had seen her truly happy. She spoke to the translation device. The Queen says her daughter would be honored. She also says this is exactly the kind of thinking that makes Jake perfect for this job. 6 months later, the human outpost had grown into a beautiful city where both species lived together. Crystal buildings grew next to human structures, creating architecture unlike anything in the galaxy. Jake walked through the central plaza wearing the robes of a human ambassador. Next to him, Princess Lyra Thess wore a smaller version of her mother's crown. They were on their way to open the new interspecies school. Jake, look! The princess pointed to a group of human and crystal children playing together. They're playing Crystal Ball, the game we invented. It was true. The children had created their own games that combined human sports with crystal abilities. Watching them play, it was hard to tell which children were human and which were crystal. They were all just kids having fun. Amy approached them, carrying a clipboard. As Jake's assistant, she helped manage the daily work of keeping two species cooperating. Ambassador, she said formally, then grinned. The Queen wants to know if you're ready for today's big event. What event? Jake asked. Princess Lyra Thess giggled. It's a surprise, but I can tell you this, it involves a very special visitor from Earth. A transport ship was landing at the spaceport. Jake watched as the doors opened and a familiar figure stepped out. It was his own mother, Mary Morrison, who had traveled from Earth to see what her son had accomplished. Jake! His mother called, running toward him. I'm so proud of you! Princess Lyra Thess watched the reunion with fascination. Is that your mother? She asked. Yes, Jake said, hugging his mom. Mom, I want you to meet Princess Lyra Thess. She's my co-ambassador and best friend. Jake's mother knelt down to the princess's level. Hello, sweetheart. Jake has told me so much about you in his letters. Princess Lyra Thess was shy at first, but then she stepped forward and hugged Jake's mother. Thank you for raising such a good son, she said through her translator. He saved my life and brought peace to our worlds. Mary Morrison had tears in her eyes. And you taught him that friendship has no boundaries. Queen Vera Anna arrived with a group of crystal officials. When she saw Jake with his mother, she smiled and spoke to her translator. The Queen says, now she understands where Jake learned to be so kind. It comes from his family. That evening, the Friendship Festival began. The plaza filled with humans and crystal beings dancing to music that combined human instruments with crystal harmonies. Children ran between the dancers, laughing and playing. Games that hadn't existed a year ago. Jake stood on a platform with Princess Lyrathes, Queen Vera Anna, and his mother. He looked out at the celebration and felt amazed at how much had changed. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jake announced, "both human and crystal, today we celebrate not just peace between our species, but the friendship that makes that peace strong." Princess Lyrathes stepped forward to speak. "When I was lost and scared, I thought I would never see my family again. But Jake and his friends showed me that family isn't just about the species you're born into. It's about the people who care for you, no matter where they come from." The crowd cheered, humans clapping and crystal beings making their musical appreciation sounds. Queen Vera Anna spoke next. "Today, my daughter is home, and our people have found new family among the stars. This is what happens when we choose love over fear, understanding over suspicion." As the celebration continued late into the night, Jake found himself sitting with Princess Lyrathes on a bench, watching the festivities. "Jake," the princess said quietly, "do you think our friendship will last forever?" Jake smiled and put his arm around her shoulders. "Forever and beyond, little sister. We've built something here that's bigger than both our species. We've built hope." Above them, the stars shone down on a world where two different peoples had learned that the universe was big enough for everyone, and that the best adventures happen when you're brave enough to help a stranger who needs you. Princess Lyrathes leaned against Jake's shoulder and watched the crystal flowers in the plaza sing their evening songs. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and new opportunities to strengthen the friendship between humans and crystal beings. But tonight, everything was perfect. A little girl was home with her family, a soldier had become a peacemaker, and two worlds had learned that sometimes the most important journeys begin with a simple decision to help someone in need.